As you can see, I have several books here. I have 5 books published by Cyberwit, and all of them are poetry books except this one is a poem novel. And so I'm going to talk about each one of them, and I might read two. The first one's called The Poet Next Door. This is the newest one, Ghost Policy. I'm No Robot. This has science fiction poetry in it. Simultaneous submissions, so if you're an author, you totally get that. If you're not, look it up. The Blue-Eyed Side, which is a poem novel, which is a novel. This is a mystery story, a murder mystery story, written though as poetry. There are a few of these out there. I haven't read any lately, but poem novel is just a different way to write a poetry book. So I'll just start with this one. This one is set in North Carolina on the coast, also in the mountains. Chapter 3, The Bodies. My grandparents, Rachel and Ted Jacobson, Michael Jacobson. What a mouthful. Mike or Mike Jacobson? Why didn't everyone just call me Jacob? Rachel and Ted were from the hills, the mountains of North Carolina, the Blue Ridge, the mist, the legends, the Trail of Tears. Grew up there, or so they said. Did pretty well with the mica mines up in Plumtree. Ever heard of Plumtree? How about Spruce Pine, Burnsville, Banner Elk? The Jacobson mica mine. It mined mica, the shiny silver flaky rock. You can find it in the mud, the woods. I found a bunch of it once outside a forest. It worked like a mirror, the silver creasing my reflection. So this is set mostly in Plumtree, North Carolina. It's a little tiny town up in the mountains, and there was a mica mine there at one time, and now I believe they've turned it into a brewing company. But you can find this on Amazon and the other books, and they're published by cyberwit.net. This one, Simultaneous Submissions. This is a lot of poetry about writing, and I write all kinds of different lengths of poems and some short poetry, some mid-size lengthwise, but this one's got my longest poem I've ever written in it. I think it's about 20 pages of this book. So I do have people frequently go, oh, that's a short poem that you wrote, because I'll read this one here. This is really short. Family Honor. Gary Cooper made films like you make beautiful gestures, all meaningless, just the same. So you can say a lot in a few words, or a lot of words. But have you ever watched a movie or something, or read a book maybe, and you go, gosh, why is all this filler in here? So I think whatever you're doing should speak to the inspiration of what you're writing as to the length of it and what you're saying. I always went to the school of writing where you limit what you write. You don't just write a lot of filler. Maybe you do that if you write an article or something. I've written articles though, and I don't really do that. This one here is called Be Like Twain. Mark Twain said it took him maybe a week to make it up. All common, you writer. Block, lack of decision, indecision. Without will, it's impossible to choose. Let's go get some ice cream or eat a salad. Let's play pool. Let's play games and not swim. It's thundering outside. Probably a good decision. You deficit, your loss of will is irritating. So that is this particular book here. I'm going to read one more. This one, a lot of people really like this poem, so that's why I'm reading this. I have a lot of comments on this one, more than any other poem in this book. It's called Your Character and the Universe. Fate, universe, control, physical world, pre-existing chaos, eternal forms. Plato credits a deity. To create a new idea, TV show, something, you artisans, you, and your special skills, people, work, but someone behind the scenes always takes the glory. I'm No Robot. Science fiction type poems, and of course, the first poem is called I'm No Robot. I'm not a what? You are not a what? I'm not a robot. If I got paid for proving that I'm not an electronic robot, I could retire yesterday. Capture this. I'm not a robot, but you, electronic trash-talking mixture of text and numbers, are. Capture that, you piece of trash. Do you get tired of proving you're a robot? Not a robot? I sure do. Ghost Policy is my newest book. Now, it's not all ghost poems. There are some different poems in here, maybe some that kind of border on a little bit of horror poetry, but it's basically a collection of all sorts of different things, and that just happens to be the title of the book. And the main poem, it came out just maybe a few months ago. This one is called Swift, A Pencil Gone Awry, or the Mississippi's Curves. Squiggled lines like oozing felt ink bleeding through paper. The bullet shaking, it lands in the mud. Chopin belts out Muzak. Children giggle and cover their ears. The handbell slips from his fingers, punching him in the nose. A slight mist roars along the riverbanks. The children clap their hands, throwing pebbles into the stream. Chopin's notebook floats to the top. The words evaporated along with the children's voices that no longer carry on the water's backs. The Poet Next Door. So I did my first featured poetry reading. I've been a poet for many years, but I didn't really read a lot. Occasionally I went to an open mic, but I was asked to do a feature reading, and I wrote a new poem for that reading, which was a different book of poetry, the Poetry in LA book series. There's 2 of those books and a Facebook page at Poetry in LA. But I wrote this poem, The Poet Next Door, for it. And then this collection came out of it. This was my first full-length collection, The Poet Next Door. I don't always notice everything, try as I do, but when I do, I see geese dining on a decaying cornfield, with one keeping watch, head goose in charge, and the bread man stocking grocery shelves asking how my day is going, and I say good, and ask him the same. His reply, I'm living the dream. To which I laugh really loud. Okay, it's a guffaw. It makes me smile, and he laughs too, and says I really need a cart instead of a basket. And I tell him I was thinking the same thing, jotting all of it down in my notepad. When people see me writing in it, they often ask, are you taking notes about our conversation? Maybe. No. Possibly. Maybe. Okay, yes. Yes, I am. And if I find your abandoned list outside of a grocery store or drugstore or any store, or even if you left it in a book, I will keep it. I will use it in my poem. Because at that very moment, like the blue ridge that surrounds us, the sculptures that make our hearts beat, the star or cross on High Brighton Mountain that keeps us company through good times and bad, some of us are meant to leave, but some of us are meant to stay close to home. So that's The Poet Next Door. You can find these books on my website, www.lbsedlacek.com. You can find them all at amazon.com or on cyberwit.net, their webpage as well. There are several for you to choose from. So thanks for listening.